Hello ITS interpreters. This is the second video on how to use the TerpX system. This video covers how to review assignments, how to leave a comment in TerpX, and we will look at a few different types of special appointments you may be offered. In addition, we will mention the new confirmation reminder call policy, but we will be covering that in our next video. We do strongly recommend that you take some notes when you watch this video. When assigned an appointment, interpreters receive a detailed confirmation email that reviews the general process of completing an assignment. Note that there are dress code expectations, the need to arrive 15 minutes early, and that you should wear your ITS badge throughout the completion of the assignment. This is the email that you receive. You can see all the details, who it's for, where it's supposed to be, that address, the client name. Many of you are familiar with those specifics and the needs that each client has. And of course, you've got your start date and ending date and time. During the assignment, there are some instructions, of course, to keep your mobile devices on silent and out of sight, except if absolutely necessary. There's actually a pretty good review of a way for you to introduce yourself and explain how you're going to be providing service both to a provider and that limited English person, the LEP, making sure that you remind them that you'll be speaking to them in first person. There's the expectation that, again, most appointments are for 1 or 2 hours. If it goes beyond 4 hours, you do probably want to let us know what's going on. Of course, we do have some that are scheduled for more than that with extensive procedures or surgeries. And then when you complete the assignment, you'll want to make sure you log in to TerpX, or as they refer to it as the IMS, the Interpreter Management System, and enter that time. We do prefer that you enter that within 2 hours of completion, and it really should be done no later than 24 hours after the assignment. So if I want to review the details of the appointment beyond what's in this email, I do need to log into TerpX. An easy way to do that is to just click on the My Assignments link in this email, but I do keep a bookmark on both my smartphone and my desktop computer to go right out to TerpX, but I can click right on this. It's going to take me to, it says access denied, because it's trying to take me to that specific page. I haven't logged in. I'll close this and it will go directly to your login page. Here I have my interpreter account entered in my password. I can tell it to remember me. That's always a good idea. And I just press login. And here we go to the interpreter menu. Now, if I want to look at my appointments that I want to review, I need to go to Manage Your Assignments. We do come across sometimes where interpreters say, hey, my appointments are gone. There's nothing out here. I don't see anything. It's because they've clicked on Available Assignments. I don't have any available assignments for me right now, but that's not where I want to go to look at appointments that are already accepted by me. That's Manage Your Assignments. And here you can see I have 3 assignments. Now this is just a brief description and overview of those appointments. It's just got your start date and end times and who the appointment's for. It doesn't have language, doesn't have where it is, it doesn't have any notes or phone numbers or anything like that. And I've come across a number of interpreters that say, oh, there's no details. I don't know anything about this appointment. And maybe they're looking in just the email and all, they think that's all there is. All of these links here are hyperlinks. And to really review an appointment, you do need to open the individual appointment. So what I'm going to do is open the appointment for the email that we were looking at. That's for August 25th. And here now I can see the assignment details. I have all of the information in front of me that I'm going to need to complete the assignment. I've got the subject, or that LEP person's name. the type of service. I'm scrolling a little far there for you. Sorry. The type of service, this is an in-person. The language that I'm going to provide, we do have a number of interpreters that are multilingual. The time zone, central. Of course, everything we're providing here in Iowa is in central time, but if you cover remote appointments, phone or video, it might be in a different time zone. I've got my scheduled start date and time as well as the end date and time. It's a little easy to have these be incorrect if I'm making an appointment for a week from now, either as the agency or if I'm a client. You might pick the right date to start it, but accidentally enter the current date to end it. If you do see something like that, just point that out to us and we can get that corrected on an assignment. Notice there is no actual start date and end date and time because I haven't entered time on this. That's one of the following videos. It shows it's scheduled, which means you know that someone is assigned to it. In this case, me, I'm assigned to it. This is the requester name. This is the email of that requester. We have our client name and where this is. We've got this worksite address here. Do want to stop and talk about that worksite address briefly. Every single appointment that you accept, you should have a very, very good idea of where you need to go long before you get in your car to go to that appointment. A lot of our appointments are at the same facilities and locations, and to head to those is a very simple thing for you. But when you come across an address that you're not familiar with, when you accept the appointment, and by this we really mean within the first 24 hours of accepting that appointment, or if that appointment is really made no more than, say, 24 or 48 hours, you should do that within just a matter of a couple of hours, is review this appointment so you know what's going on. You should not be waiting to review an appointment and the address and looking for phone numbers and things like that until the night before. That is not meeting the expectations of our client. That's an interpreter not meeting the expectations of ITS. And if we don't meet our expectations, we can't bill our clients because we haven't met their expectations. And when we don't bill clients, we can't pay interpreters for those appointments because we have not fulfilled our obligations to those clients. So when I come across an address like this, 1313 Mockingbird Lane, that I'm not familiar with, what I need to do is go out and Google this address and see where it is. And if I do that, I'm not going to do it right in this video. This is a fictitious address, right? I would immediately come back to ITS and say, hey, this address doesn't show up when I try and figure it out, when I try and look at this. Can you, help confirm this for me? It's not too often, of course, that happens. We don't come across fictitious addresses, but we do come across addresses that we're not familiar with, and sometimes we don't have enough information. Is it 1313 Mockingbird Lane? Should it be street? Should it be drive? And sometimes those are different places within the area. And so it's very important to know where you're going ahead of time and not just immediately before you're leaving. We've got the phone number for the site here. That's good. Mileage and travel time, we haven't entered any times yet. So of course that's coming up as 0. We don't ask them to enter provider names and emails. It's a nice thing to have, but it's not a necessary thing to have. And so that's something that you can look for, but it isn't necessary. And then we see a number of comments out here. I do want to stop and talk just a little bit about comments. Comments can be entered by the client, and we can see that we've got a patient phone number here, and I've got this test comment out here. I've also entered a number of interpreter comments out here that I confirmed it. Maybe I called and there was no answer, and there's no voicemail, so I sent a text. Maybe I reminded them via text. Maybe they returned their call. There's a lot of different things that we can come across when we're reaching out to patients and families when we're confirming and reminding them of appointments. And so it's very critical that when interpreters make these calls, each and every time that you make these calls now, that you're coming out into the system and leaving a comment. We don't want you to make 20 or 30 calls. We want you to make 1 or 2 high quality calls, send a text message perhaps, or maybe use a messaging app like WhatsApp or Telegram, and see if you can reach them. And then come out and tell us right away what those results are, so we can go back to the clients and let them know that we can't reach them, or maybe we were able to send a text, but we weren't able to speak with them, or just let them know what's going on. Perhaps they cannot make the appointment, like we see with this particular note here. And so, again, we don't want you to make 20 calls or 10 calls or even really 5 calls, 1 or 2 attempts, and make sure that you're coming out and logging what's going on. Well, how do you do that? It's very, very simple. I've pulled up that individual appointment. I come down here, I hit new comment, a message box pops up, and I say confirmed appointment patient update done. You don't have to leave a book or a long message at all. Obviously, there could be times where it's a very extensive message and there's something going on, but that's really not very common at all. It's very simple for you to be able to do this, and it is both our clients and ITS expectation that we log this. In the customer service world, when you're working on phones, you kind of live and die by the phrase that if you didn't comment it, if you didn't note it, it didn't happen. So, and we're going to start to kind of apply that approach, that we need to know that we're making these confirmation and reminder calls, so our clients are certain that they're getting good value for the service that we're providing, and that we're making sure that we're limiting the number of failed appointments and no-shows and reschedules, last minute, that we're seeing. We do want to continue to try and be as efficient and cost effective for our clients as possible. And so this is one of those ways to do that. But let's talk about some of these special sorts of appointments that you can come across. And I'm going to pull up another appointment that I've assigned myself to, that I've copied in some information from. And these are national level clients. And these appointments are at local facilities, but they're submitted by companies that serve large clients. And these clients are often across an entire state, or perhaps multiple states. And these companies don't have local resources. So they come out to companies like ITS to provide them interpreters and provide service to those large clients, like an entire statewide organization. We see that with companies like Language Service Associates. They have a client, Iowa Total Care, that's the Medicare Medicaid provider for the state of Iowa, and Language Service Associates is their preferred provider for language services. And so Language Service Associates comes down to ITS. There are other companies like Language Service Associates, Transcend, MTI, GoTNT, others. And again, a lot of these are work comp cases, or they're state entities, as I mentioned previously. So when you review an appointment, a requester's email that wouldn't match a facility would be kind of a dead giveaway for that sort of a thing. So some other email that doesn't match, like Adams Healthcare Service, HCS, that's our test client. Okay, this doesn't match. This isn't an Adams HCS email. So, in a real sense, this might say Iowa Ortho or Wolf Eye Clinic or Child Serve, but the email is going to say LSA, or it might say something like Select Physical Therapy, but then it might say MTI or Transcend. That's one of the first ways to know for certain that you're looking at a national level client. Most national level client appointments are also 2 hours minimum, because they're work comp appointments. That's not an absolute rule, but a common thing. Additionally, you're going to come down, and this is the thing that gives you a really good indication that you're looking at a national level client is there's going to be this very extensive set of instructions that tells you what to do if you come across any challenges. And in the case of all these national level clients, the instructions talk to you about what to do if there's another interpreter that appears or if that patient doesn't show up. And they all have this same protocol. And that protocol is to call them. And you call them, the national client, and that is going to be an 800 number that's going to be in the comments. You call them first. Before you call ITS, you call them. And you provide them the information. Typically, there's going to be a number. It will perhaps be up here, say, in this medref number area or ID number. It will have their request number. Sometimes it's also contained in the comments as well. And you'll need to provide them that number, tell them the company you're working with, International Translation Services, and let them know what's going on. Hey, there's another interpreter here from another company. They may want to talk to that interpreter. They may want to talk to that facility. Just be very positive, very supportive. We don't want to be involved in some sort of dispute. Let this company make the decision because they're the ultimate client for ITS. They make the decision as to whether or not you can be dismissed. You have to make this call before you leave the facility. Do not leave. Don't leave the desk area other than to, find a quiet place to make a phone call. When you run into a situation, you say, hey, I need to call our client on this, and it'll be just a minute. You give them a call. You go through the process of telling them what's going on. They may call the facility. They may ask to talk to them on your phone. It's a pretty simple process. And then you just kind of do what the determination is. If they say, hey, you can go, that's fine. Maybe they'll tell the client, say, we were contracted by the insurance company to be here, or that work comp company, and we want you to use our interpreter. A lot of times this happens. You have patients that bring their own interpreters, or you have interpreters that kind of inject themselves into patients' appointments because they help them at other appointments. And so now they've shown up to this one. We're not going to engage in arguments. We're just going to talk to them in a very calm and professional manner. Let our client, the national level client, make that determination, and then we'll go forward from there. Once that's done, do call ITS. Tell us what's going on, and we'll handle the appointment appropriately, entering that late cancellation, or just noting that there was another interpreter and that you provided service, or if that patient didn't show up. That's how to handle national level clients. And again, when any of this stuff happens and anything's going on like this, I'm going to come out here, enter a new comment that says, patient no-show, called LSA, update, done. Let's talk about another kind of special appointment that we do come across. We do come across school appointments and therapy appointments that are home visits for families and patients. And those appointments, again, when that happens, you're going to see an address here. It's going to be a home address, not a school, not a doctor's office, or what have you. And the important thing with these is that you meet them outside of this location and you wait for them there. Do not approach the home or residence. You wait for them there. They should be leaving a phone number out here. So you can see we've got a patient phone number, but we don't see one for that teacher or therapist. You do want that if at all possible. Here we see one I have right here, scheduled home visit for the teacher to come and provide paperwork, right? But she didn't leave her phone number. If you see something like this, or for a therapist or for a teacher, reach back out to ITS, because we don't look at every single appointment and every single comment that is entered. That's simply beyond our scope. So when you accept the appointment as the interpreter, that is your responsibility. If you see something like this, just reach back out to ITS. We'll get that phone number for that teacher. So if you get there and you cannot reach them, you can give that teacher a call and say, hey, I'm here, where are you? And they might stand up and wave out of their car and say, oh, I'm over here and in the black Ford or what have you. One important thing with most of the Des Moines Public School appointments, and I have sent a couple of emails on this, is to make sure that we're confirming appointments. In fact, we really want you to do that with all appointments, but it is doubly, triply important with Des Moines Public School appointments. When you receive that appointment, you should confirm that appointment within 24 hours of acceptance, or if that appointment is less than 48 hours, the same day or within 4 hours, if at all possible. Obviously, don't make calls at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, but you should be making those confirmation calls within 24 hours of accepting the appointment. It's a very simple process. You call up and say, hi, I'm going to be your interpreter for the appointment on the 26th at Mitchell Preschool at 1 o'clock. And that's really all you need to say. If there are special instructions, you can cover those there. They would be in comments most of the time. But it's very, very critical that you do that. And then, say we're working with an appointment that's a week in advance, then you can call them a day. Well, really, we prefer 2 business days. Remember, 2 business days in advance to make sure that they're going to still make that appointment. If not, then we can still reschedule for the patient if necessary. When there are the last kind of appointment we want to talk about is phone and video appointments. We actually have this plugged in as a phone appointment. This you're going to see a service type, OPI. That's a phone appointment directly for that would come through on demand, but you could see something called SPI, which is a scheduled phone interpretation, or a VPI, which is for scheduled video interpretation. And those are going to have instructions down in the comments for when what phone number you need to call to do a phone appointment, or it should have a link out there to do a Zoom or Microsoft Teams appointments. We see these increasingly with schools and the therapy companies as well when they don't have service to a location. Perhaps it's well out of the Des Moines area. They don't want to pay for someone to drive all that way, or it's not very feasible. So when we see something like this, that information should be out here. When we start using the system for video appointments with our own interpreters, which we do expect by the end of the year, it will be very different. It won't be like that at all. It'll be on demand. It'll just pop up through your phone or your computer. Our video appointments do need to be handled on a tablet or a computer. A phone simply isn't capable to handle the TerpX system properly for that. But when you see these phone and video appointments, make sure this information is out here for that phone call. Make sure that that link is out there for the Teams or Zoom meeting. If it's not out there, contact ITS right away. This is why you want to review your appointments immediately or within that first day to let us know if there's anything more that you need to complete that appointment. So if you're unable to connect, if there's a problem, say with a video appointment, because you're unprepared or unfamiliar with that system, you're not going to get a cancellation fee for that appointment. If you don't know how to log into systems, if you don't know how to do Teams, if you don't know how it's set up, I would strongly suggest you probably not accept that kind of appointment, or that you familiarize yourself with that before you do the appointment. If the problem is on our end as a company, on your end as an interpreter, then we can't pay you a cancellation fee because we were not prepared for that appointment. So when you do accept that remote appointment, make sure that you've got either a good cell phone connection for a phone appointment or a stable high-speed internet connection for video appointments. Connection issues should be reported to ITS immediately so we can help you troubleshoot, and we can contact the client, let them know what's going on. And you can't simply sit around and hope the problem resolves itself, or just try time and again and again and again and again without doing anything different. The definition of doing the same thing over and over again is insanity, of course. And that's just not professional. It's not proactive. and that's not the approach that's expected in today's modern business environment. So I hope this video has helped you a little bit in reviewing things. Again, when you receive an appointment, you are going to, and accepted an appointment, you get this email. It's going to give you some of your details and give you some instructions. You should go to your interpreter menu to manage your assignments, open that assignment, review the details. If you're necessary, you can leave comments. You may read comments that are left by clients. When we have national level clients, there's going to be pretty extensive instructions like these. And special appointments like home visits, you need to make sure that you see instructions out here where to meet them, as well as those contact numbers for those teachers and therapists. And for phone and or video appointments, make sure that those instructions are out there and that you're able to connect properly and are in a proper environment. Again, we want to avoid people running through your house while you cover a video appointment, or we all know kids and dogs we can't control necessarily, but we want to try and have as quiet and professional an environment as possible. So if you do have questions or concerns with any of this, I apologize, it's a somewhat longer video, but this really should help answer a lot of questions on how to review an appointment, and these are our expectations for interpreters. If you've got questions on how to do this, or if you're going to think you're going to struggle with this, please give us a call, and we're happy to go through this with you and help address any of your concerns. Thank you very much, and enjoy your interpreting. Bye.